Okay, $1,000 deposit, 4% annual interest rate, and withdrawing the interest annually as well. So there is no extra money in that account over the initial 1,000 to get interest rate from. The answer would be this. Okay, this minus 1,000 is the amount of money that we are depositing now, and you can make it red or put minus in front of it. Okay, since you have 1,000 in the bank account, 4% is the interest rate, so the amount of interest would be $40 at the end of year one that you get it out. So the amount of interest that you get for year two would be based on the initial 1,000. So another, this 1,000 that you have here times 4% would be this 40 that you can see here. And like that, it continues. 40 for year 2, 40 for year 3, 40 for year 4. But for year 5, it is 1,040. Why it is the case? Because you get $40 as the interest for year 5 because of this $1,000 initial deposit, and also since it is the end of investment period, you will get your $1,000 back. Let's add more sophistication to the previous activity by adding the fact that you are not withdrawing the money. What happens if you don't withdraw the interest money? Okay, so the amount of money that you have, the amount of deposit that you have in your account in that situation would increase because you will get the interest money added to the initial deposit regularly, so you will have more and more money deposited in your account. Since you have more and more money in your account deposited, therefore you will get more interest rate. And that's the only difference. So please pay attention to that difference. So if you deposit $1,000 in a bank with annual interest rate of 4%, exactly the same as the previous one, what is the cash flow for 5 years if you do not withdraw the interest rate, the interest money annually? How much do you withdraw after 5 years? Of course, before even we do the analysis, we expect to withdraw much more money in comparison to activity 4, because in activity 4 we withdraw the interest rate annually. So on one hand we don't withdraw them after 5 years, and on the other hand, since we are not withdraw the interest money, we are gonna get interest over the interest. So the answer would be this. What happens here? We have the reason you see the table in front of you in this way, because I want to focus on just calculations here. But feel free to make your tables on your computers with Excel. I'm sure in a much better way you are going to make your tables than me. But I'm telling you because I want to focus on the calculation. What happens? Now I'm going to put $1,000 in my account. What happens after 1 year? They are going to give me $40 interest. So I had initial deposit of 1,000 first and $40 after that. So the total amount of money I will have in the account after 1 year would be 1,000 plus 40. That is equal 1040. The 1040 that you see here is because of that. So until here we are fine. What about year 2? About year 2, they are gonna again pay you 4% interest. Okay, 4% interest that they are gonna pay you, they are gonna pay 4% interest on 1040. So to calculate that, it would be 1040 So 1040 is the amount of money you have at the end of year one. So you are gonna get interest over this with 4% number that gives this 41.6 is the interest rate here. So the interest rate that you get for year two is higher than the interest you get on year one because the amount of money you have in the account is different. So you have 41.6 as the interest for year two. You had 1040 at the beginning of year two. So 1081.6 would be the amount of money you have in your account at the end of year two. 1081.6 is the amount of money you have. So the interest that you get would be 43.264, 4% of 1081.6. So these things are connected to each other. 4% of this is this. And when you sum up these two things that you see here, you get to amount of account availability that you have 1124. 1124 gives you 44 interest that totally summed up to 1169, and like that at the end of year 5 you should come up with 1216.653 in cash in your account. We are getting close and close to more technical things in financial planning. If you have ever invested in bonds, you know how these things work. And even if you have not invested in bonds, you should know how the system works. A company, government issues bonds and in fact borrow money from you, and in return they promise to give you a fixed income for a period of time. And for more details, you can check the slide in front of you. I have also posted them on Canvas. You can see them about some details, but the general concept of bonds is very similar to these two recent activities that we did together. Just for bonds, there is no accumulation of interests because you withdraw it, and also the amount of initial deposit is fixed according to the principal that you pay for that. So let's do an example together about the bonds. Here we have three type of bonds. Their prices are different. The price is different from that value of, let me show you here. You see here, bond details include end date, when the principal of the loan is due, for example, 10 years, 30 years, 20 years, to be paid to the bond owner, and usually includes the terms for variable and fixed interest payment made by the borrower. Okay, so the details about bonds are very limited. They are not that much complicated about the things. So the reason you see here at maturity they pays $1,000, not the price of the bonds, is the fact according to the interest rate the value of bonds in the market would change, but at the time of maturity they will pay you the amount of money you paid them at the beginning, that is 1,000. We are going to do examples on this. Okay, the government bonds have a par value of $1,000. That is the things that I'm telling you. The value that is considered at the time of issuing the bond. not the market value that changes according to the interest rate. Which means that even with different prices, each bond pays $1,000 at maturity. That's the point that I'm talking about. But now here, if you want to get the bond, you need to pay this amount of thing to get it. But remember, at the maturity time, they pays you only $1,000. The rate is 8.887. So the amount of money that they pay you as interest is $1,000 times this interest rate. So you will get some interest income from them, and finally at the time of maturity they give you $1,000. It means that you are investing now $1,150, but you will get $1,000. So it's your decision to do this or not. Okay, now you should be familiar with what it is asking you here. It is asking you what is the cash flow of bond 1. So according to the activities that we just had, please take your time and try to create a cash flow for that. For creating the cash flow for here, pay attention, my friend. The years to maturity here is 5. So it means that in 5 years, everything would be done with this bond. For bond number 2, the years to maturity is 6 years. So for 6 years, they are going to pay you 5.5% interest rate. And finally, after 6 years, they are going to also pay you this 1,000. About this one, 13, you are going to pay now $1,350, and you will get the interest rate of 11.750 for 7 years, and at the end of 7 years you can get also $1,000. Stop the video and take your time to create a gorgeous table that talks about cash flow of bond 1. Let's check the cash flow of bond 1 here together. I hope your answer you have created has so much similarity with these things, and it means that you are completely caught up. Okay, since the years to maturity for this question is 5 years, so the cash flow would cover 5 years from now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, here we have this. Now, to buy that bond, you need to pay $1,150. So it would be the cash flow for now. But after that, you are gonna get for 5 years 8.875% on the par value. That is $1,000 for 5 years. So the interest that you will get for 5 years would be 88.75. Remember, you get that interest on the principal value, on the first value that you paid, that is $1,000. So it would be 1,000 times 8%, 875. That is, as you can see, 88.75. You will get 88.75 for 5 years, and finally at the end of year 5 they give you back your initial $1,000 you borrowed them. So the total cash flow would be this minus 1150, year 1 to 4. It would be 88.75, and finally for year 5 you will get 1088.75. Feel free to ask if you have any questions regarding the details of these calculations.